Meeting will come to order. We'll have the Pledge of Allegiance, and please remain standing for the invocation after the pledge. Thank you. Ready to begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please bow your heads. Dear Lord, we thank you for bringing us here tonight. We ask that you give this council the strength and the wisdom to make the right decisions for this great city of Newman. In this we pray. Amen. Amen. Roll call.
Councilmember Davis.
Present.
Graham. Here. Candia.
Here.
Mayor Martina.
Present. Okay, declaration of conflict of interest. There being none. Item 6, ceremonial matters. We have a presentation by the Turlock Mosquito Abatement District, and David Heft will make the presentation, and this will answer all the questions that we have.
Well, first I'd like to thank the City Council and the Mayor and Michael and staff for having her tonight today. We heard there were some questions regarding the recent mosquito control activities that we're conducting in Newman, and so I thought it would be a good opportunity to come out and kind of run through those and make sure everybody's on the same page. Okay, there we go. So here's the first, everybody can hear me, right? Yeah. Okay. The first slide here, you can see this is kind of an annual event. It's probably been going on for decades and decades. Newman's right here. You can see the arrows represent where the mosquitoes are flying from. There's the county border. Out here you've got China Island Refuge. You've got duck clubs and floodings, and up the road this way where the county cuts back in. You've got Fisherman's Camp with duck clubs and floodings up there. And so the mosquitoes at this time of year get on the move. They realize that the day length is shortening. Their window of opportunity is decreasing. And so they start to migrate and move and to try to find as many blood meals as they can get to lay eggs and to continue their offspring for the next generation. You can see here that this is from last week. Here's the mosquito. This is a one-night trap count. We could set 20 of these along this border and they would all be the same. That's about 500 mosquitoes in one night. Wow. Just putting a little net. How we trap them is we got a bucket that we fill with dry ice. The dry ice slowly melts, or at least it's carbon dioxide. That's what mosquitoes use to trace an animal, is the breath we breathe out. They think it's an animal. They go to the bucket. We have a net with a fan that blows them down into a net, and we pick them up the next morning. We take them back to the lab. There's many different species of mosquitoes. They're not all the same. Some carry disease, some don't. Some bite birds, some bite people. So we have to separate them in the lab. Those that we know that can carry disease, we send those to the state of California, and they do the testing for us, and we receive those results. If you were a football coach or a general or whatever, you'd see this map and you'd say, okay, we need to make our line here. They don't get past here. And so that's all we do this time of year. We're trying to prevent the mosquitoes from getting into town. But the edge of town here, the southern communities, and this edge of town and this new development up here, they have a much higher risk than the people who live in Newman up in the northern section of town, because they're going to be the first line of defense of getting mosquitoes moving into town and having a higher population of mosquitoes biting them at night. We got the Newman movie night. We're out this time of night, peak mosquito biting activity, peak time, worst time you could be. You got people out doing soccer games this time of night, practices, baseball, football. Our job is to try to make sure that the people in your community can do that without, number one, getting eaten alive by mosquitoes, and number two, reducing the level of disease to an acceptable level that, you're not, every time you step outside, you're not, dousing yourself with DEET and worrying about, is today the day? This is the most recent West Nile virus activity. That same collection of mosquitoes that we just showed, thank you. That's right, I have a mouse. I could do that here, huh? That same collection of mosquitoes was positive for West Nile. Yeah, here we go. We don't know how many. It's 500 mosquitoes. We put them in pools of 50, so 10 pools. We put those in test tubes, number them, they get tested, they come back with the results. It could be all 50 in that test tube's positive, it could be a couple. We have no way to know. The only way we can judge is how often does that site continue to be positive with mosquitoes testing for West Nile, and that gives us an indication that, hey, there's a lot of disease going on. This, I believe this is Prince Road right here. This has had even more West Nile activity actually in town. I believe there is an elderly home in this area right here that's on our radar because the elderly are some of the most susceptible to West Nile, especially its more debilitating effects. So we keep a close eye on that area. So these are the things that we're doing to inform us about when and where we conduct our activities. A lot of people, I think, are under the assumption that this is still the 1950s and it's Tuesday and we just go out and spray. We don't do that. It doesn't work anymore. We're not allowed to do that. We have to have thresholds. We have to have surveillance. We have to monitor what's going on in the community before we're allowed to do anything. I'd like to share with you a couple of things, and you guys can pass these around. Thank you. This is a map. I'll keep going. Thank you. This is a map that all the data from throughout California gets inputted by mosquito control districts throughout the state of California. They use that data to model what the thresholds, what the risk is for different parts of the state, different parts of the community. Stanislaus County is, and I'm looking upside down, right here. You can see it's almost entirely orange. You can see this, the place that Newman would be on the map is orange. That's emergency planning. That's what we are doing right now at our work. We are under the emergency planning stage. The emergency planning stage calls for these criteria. There's a normal season, there's emergency planning, and there's epidemic. That we're at the stage just below epidemic. These have been established by the Centers of Disease Control, by the State of California, Department of Public Health, and they're followed throughout the state of California. This gives us guidance as to what steps we should be taking to protect the public. And under, if you can see there on level 2, under emergency planning, it lists the response that we should be taking. So I kind of go over this just because I want to make sure everybody understands that, we're not Clark Pest Control, and nothing against Clark Pest Control, but we're not just coming out spraying for ants. And there's science, there's people who dedicate their entire careers, PhDs, CDC, that study this, that give us this information. We're the ground troops, we provide the information. It goes to the state of California, and then that goes from there to the CDC. So there's a protocol, there is thresholds that we have to monitor, and when those thresholds are met, then it's our duty, it's our job to protect public health. And so that's why we're out there doing what we're doing. The products that we use are licensed and registered for use by the state of California. That's no minor thing. The state of California has some of the most cantankerous registration requirements. We only have 2 products that we're allowed to use. And so let's talk real quickly, and I'll go back to that last slide. These are the 2 methods that we use to treat mosquitoes. Of course, our focus is on killing the larval stage of mosquitoes. Okay, we want to get them when they're in the water, they're confined, they can't move all about the place, and they're not biting people, and they can't pass disease at that level. So we want to get them before they even become an adult. Now, as you all know, insects go through 4 stages: eggs, larva, pupa, and adult. The larval stage, up to the adult stage for mosquitoes, is in the water. When they exit their pupal case, that's when they get wings and they can fly. As you can imagine, once mosquitoes can fly, to try to control them is very inefficient. They're flying all over the place, you know. So at that point, it's a very inefficient method to control them, but it's the only method that we have. And at this time of the year, we cover almost 700 square miles. We can't even find all the water that's breeding mosquitoes in our own district, let alone what's going on in Merced County, which you guys unfortunately are subjected to, because Merced County doesn't really have a huge population center in this area. Their 2 big cities are Los Banos and Merced. So obviously that's where they're going to spend the majority of their time. You know, they do some control for gustine, but it's certainly not the same level that they're going to do for areas that are much highly more populated. So here's the 2 methods that we use for adult, we call it adulticiding. That's killing adults. We have ground applications and we have aerial applications. I want to stress to the council and to everybody here that the only difference between the applications is the vehicle. The method, the way it's applied is exactly the same. There's no difference. They're ULV applications. ULV stands for ultra low volume. That means we are applying, think of a shot glass. We are applying less than a shot glass of chemical for an entire football field, over an acre. That's how little amount of chemical that is coming out of that plane 300 feet in the air. Compare that to what some of you go down to Home Depot and you want to treat your property for ants, or the Orkin guy comes and compare that with how much chemical that gets treated every day around your home. Compare that, we're surrounded by ag and the amount of chemical that is being treated every day just in the ag communities. We're actually, if you look on the DPR's website, mosquito control is less than 0.1% of the chemical use in the state of California. I mean, if we did nothing, it wouldn't change the amount of chemical being applied by any appreciable means. These applications are very safe. We wouldn't be allowed to do them in California if they weren't. We do tell people, however, if you have a sensitivity to the treatments, go inside, until the airplane's gone. These chemicals that we use are very short-lived. They are biodegradable. The sunlight breaks them down. Typically within an hour. You can't even tell. They've done, contact studies where they've tested vegetation and tested houses and different things, looking for the presence, and they're gone within an hour, usually within 15 minutes. So out of our trucks, we use a chemical class called pyrethroids. You can see here, pyrethroids or pyrethrins, they're a classic chemical that's been very popular in the last 25 years. The first was a pyrethrin. It is derived from a chrysanthemum flower. So people hear, oh, it's a flower, so it must be better, it must be safer, or whatever. The company can say it's a natural product, and this and that. The thing I want everybody to understand is there's nothing bad about chemicals. The term chemical has gotten a very negative connotation. Water is a chemical. We deal with lots of chemicals every day. We gas up our car. We use bleach. We use soap at home. We use all this different things. These are all chemicals. It's all about the dose. You could drink too much water and go into kidney failure and die. It's all about dosage, The amount of chemical that we're applying there is no safety precautions that is required in the state of California. The difference between the ground and aerial, ground we have limited coverage. We're stuck to the roads. If we have a 300-foot swath and we're driving these country roads, we're not getting out into where the mosquitoes are in these pastures and all these areas. The airplane simply allows us to get better coverage in a faster time. In terms of the actual spray activity is no different than the truck mounted. In fact, it's actually 300 foot in the air except right at sidewalk level. So the difference between the two chemicals, I kind of already went into it a little bit. Pyrethrin is derived from a chrysanthemum flower. It's been known and used for thousands of years. Pyrethroids is basically a lab scientists went into a lab and they figured out the molecule and they make it now synthetically. So it's just a synthetic version. This is what typically, when you're talking about products that don't degrade in the environment, the PBO is actually what has the longest life in the environment. The actual chemical that we're using, like I said, breaks down usually within minutes, definitely within an hour. This is added to the pyrethrins because insects are getting resistant. How many people saw in the paper about head lice and bed bugs becoming resistant to pyrethrin-based chemicals? Well, mosquitoes are getting resistant too. We're doing our normal applications and we're not killing anything. And we've only got one other product, and the only other product we have is this, and that's what we're using out of the airplane. We're trying to kill the mosquitoes that are surviving our normal applications to remove them from the population so that they don't have offspring and that suddenly we've got these completely resistant mosquitoes running around out there that we can't control. So what we did, we're not just doing it everywhere. We've identified the areas in our district where we've done the most pyrethrin applications over the years. These would represent areas where there should be the highest population of potentially resistant mosquitoes out there. So we've identified those areas, and those are the areas that we're targeting with the organophosphate, which is Nile. Both of them act basically on the mode of action. They both basically act on the insect's nervous system, which is what all that, says right there. But they do it in a different way. So by acting in a different way, if the mosquito is resistant to this one kills it differently. So we can still zap it and get rid of it. So here's just kind of a simple slide just going over resistance, Here's the resistant pyrethrin bug. We go out and we try to control as many adults as we can, and it lives. And a couple of the non-resistant live too. We're not going to be able to kill everything. Later generations, all of a sudden you got more resistant until finally your whole population resistant. And that's what we're trying to avoid. That would be bad news. Especially because in California, we're limited in what we can actually use. We've only got 2 products, and when they're gone, they're gone. So here's recent numbers right now. There's our 5-year average. The mosquitoes right now for Newman are above the 5-year average. So this is the kind of data that we use when we're scheduling the airplane. As I mentioned before, we don't just spray, hey, it's Tuesday, let's spray Newman. We spray based on trap counts and disease activity. One of the things that went into our last spray was you guys had the Newman Fall Festival, which we had a booth at. We knew there was going to be lots of people outdoors over the weekend. So we targeted that weekend before based on the trap counts to make sure that that went off successfully and that there wasn't any issues. This is the 5-year average for traps leading into Newman. So this trap right here is on the border. You can see we're way above what we should be having. We're getting lots of mosquitoes right now. And you can see the traps in town, which are down here, are starting to go up too. And the 5-year average just shows you the trend. Like I said, this happens every year. This is a normal occurrence. Mosquitoes move in, and at this time of the year, we focus our efforts in this area to keep the mosquitoes out of town. I think, yeah, so here's just kind of a, a graph of the numbers. Went from 344, 42. We believe that this was a reaction from the spray we did on the end of the month. So we knocked them down quite a bit. But you can see that we're expecting, it goes up as the year goes on. So let me go back. So let's go back to this slide. So I'll pass this out real quick. Here's the report from the airplane itself. They have transponders just like airplanes that you fly on that go to New York or wherever. That tells you what altitude, when the machine's on, when the machine's off. They have technology that allows them to detect what the current wind and humidity conditions are, and they can actually detect where the chemical is going to land. As you can see from your report there on the 29th, you can see that the plane flew way up here in the green, and Newman is right down here at the very bottom. And you can see that the plane flew in the green, but the polka dots are falling way down here. So if up 300 feet up in the air, there's a 10-mile-an-hour wind, these ultra-low volume, when they come out of the sprayer, it's a little bit of chemical, and it's aerosol into microscopic droplets. Those microscopic droplets float, 10-mile-an-hour wind, they can float a long way. They don't just drop straight down. They're not heavy enough. But with the technology on the plane knows where to fly to get the chemical where it needs to go. So even though the plane's flying even way up here, it's not treating up here. It's treating down here. So you might even see a plane, the county border is literally like right here. You might see a plane flying over here, but it's Merced County, treating down here on their own border. It's not even us doing it. We targeted this section of town because really the only parts of town, all this is still rural. There's a little section here, and there's this new development over here. These are the areas that have the most mosquitoes. They're just right on the front line. They need this control. They're going to have tons of mosquitoes. It's only going to get worse until October. We really focus on Newman until Halloween. We know kids are going to be out trick-or-treating. They're going to be out at this time. And the last thing we want is a kid or somebody to get bit by a mosquito and get West Nile. So that's what we do every year. So here's the options we have. I know Michael called our office and he said, hey, why don't you put an ad in the paper? And we considered putting an ad in the paper. There's a couple of things that it wouldn't work. Number one, how many people even subscribe to a newspaper? Number two, how many people read it front to back every single day, every single page, looking for an ad from us about when we're going to spray? And a lot of the papers on this side of the county come out on a weekly basis. We literally have to know weeks in advance to get it into the printing in time to run the ad. It just wasn't, because we don't have weeks of notice before we spray. We have to balance like notifying people, but also reacting in time to prevent any type of disease transmission. So this was the best thing. And, I looked on the city website, and you guys post your minutes and your video for your chamber. It's a small town. We have limited mass media capabilities. If somebody is concerned, the information is there, right on our front page. It's right here. Now, we don't do our own website. We don't have enough staff. The county does that for us. So there are occasions when people make mistakes. We send them the notifications, they put the wrong city, or they do that. Michael notified me that last week. We saw, yeah, you're right, we canceled the application. But there's going to be some minor mistakes. It's just human error. I want to let the council know that there is no requirement in California to make notifications. But we believe that's the right thing to do. We want to make sure that that information is out there and that people do have an opportunity. If they don't want to be involved, they can go on our site. It's right there on the front page. They know, hey, tonight at 9 and 10 is going to fly. I'm just going to go in the house. Okay? There's no requirement to go in the house. There's no safety precautions that are required. It's personal choice. If you just don't want to be exposed, you can just go in the house. We also have a Twitter account that everything gets tweeted out on. You can set it up on your phone and get tweeted. As soon as this goes up, tweet on your phone. Here's one for Newman right here. The other thing that we just set up is Facebook. So we got a Facebook account now. We're trying to do everything that we possibly can, but in a small town, there's limited avenues. And to be quite honest, if somebody is concerned or interested enough, it's pretty easy to type in a website or to sign up with us on Facebook and stay informed. If you're not that concerned about it, then great. But if you are, it's pretty easy to get to. Does it require a little bit of individual initiative? Yeah. We can't knock on every door and give everybody personal notification. It's just not possible. But we're trying to do what we can with what we got. We're always into new ideas. Michael suggested, hey, when you guys do a notification, can you send it over to Mike and he can add it to our website? I said, sure. So that's in our protocol now. So now when we have notifications from Newman, it will also go up on the city website. I know at our board meeting last night, one of our board members mentioned from Houston about an app called is it Next Door Neighbor? Something like that they're using in Houston. That's the city's been using to keep people informed and this and that. So if you guys are ever using some kind of neighborhood app, to communicate with the public and that kind of thing, let us know. We'd be happy to, to sign in and do that too. But it's not perfect, but we're doing everything that we possibly can to try to keep everybody informed. It does take a little bit of go get it. You got to log in. It's just like the paper, you have to go through the paper every day. You could do that. But at this point, that's really all I had to share.
David, the plane is not ours.
Well, yeah, there is actually one more slide. Yeah, thank you, Kern. Right. So the other limitation is we don't own the plane. So there's also the limitation on waiting too long before we act, but then we've got to try to schedule it with this company who's got other clients who need the plane. So there's a lot of limitations involved there, and sometimes we'll schedule something, which we did about a week or two ago, and the plane company's pump went out on the plane, so we had to cancel and reschedule it. There's things like that. It's just the real world. Things happen, but we get the news. We try to post a thing up saying, hey, this has been rescheduled. Here's the new time, and here's the new day. Obviously, one of the things, and I watched the video from last month's Newman City Council meeting, one of the things, hey, maybe they can do it early in the morning. It's a possibility. We've been in Newman for decades. We've always been an ally of the city and the residents here. When we go out to your city fairs and events, we hear nothing but public just saying, hey, great job. We don't like mosquitoes. You guys do a good job out here. But if we do those applications in the morning, they're not going to be as effective, not by a long shot. Mosquitoes are mostly active right now. This is their peak time. We're trying to kill as many as we possibly can, because the fewer mosquitoes, the fewer chance that somebody's going to get bit and get West Nile. It's a math game. The more lottery tickets you have, the more chance you're going to win the lottery, right? So we're just trying to make the applications at the most effective time so we can do the best possible job that we possibly can. If we went to a, let's say, 4 or 5 in the morning application, we could try it, but it's not a black and white issue, it's a gray. We could try it, but you're going to have more mosquitoes because it's not going to be as effective. You're going to have more chance for disease transmission. And if things ever got to the point where we felt it was necessary, we would have to do it at the time when it's necessary, because our job is to protect public health. We understand that there are going to be, just in anything, especially with government, there's always situations where you're never going to get 100% approval and 100% thumbs up. Some people are going to call, some people are going to complain, but we're here to make sure that the public's protected and that we're fulfilling our obligation. But we certainly would cooperate with the city if, after tonight, that's what you'd still like to do. We could look into that, try to work something out. But again, if things ever got bad and we started getting human cases or something, we would have to do it at the peak time to try to get as most effective of a control as we can. And obviously the cost. You know, the plane isn't cheap, these chemicals aren't cheap. Obviously, from a cost perspective, we want to fly the plane when it's going to kill the most mosquitoes. If it doesn't do a good enough job between 4 or 5 a.m., it doesn't make sense for us to do the plane because of the cost. We're not getting enough control to be worth the cost. So we're recommending, I'm recommending, and our board is recommending, that we continue to do the applications at the scheduled time that they're being conducted currently. It's the best in terms of mosquito control and protecting the public, in terms of experts who have studied this and know when the peak mosquito times are, know when transmission times are. That's what they would recommend. We're certainly not looking to be obstinate. We're certainly looking to cooperate with the city as much as possible. But my recommendation would be to continue with the treatments as they currently are. So I'd be happy to answer any questions or.
Any questions for the council?
Yeah, I have a couple. The state or federal land that we have to the south of us, the parks and that,
Yeah.
does Merced County handle that, or is that just left up to, you know, the higher government and nothing is done with it?
We handle that.
You guys handle that?
So Merced, like I said, they don't really have a lot of population in this area.
Right.
They don't really, there's nothing, in terms of bang for their buck, treating China Island, you know, the state refuge over here, when they know the mosquitoes from there are going to come into Newman, you know, they're just like, hey, you should go out there and do it. Now, I will make this one caveat. This year, we've worked very cooperatively with Merced. I spent quite a bit of time working with them, and I've gotten them, we do all the groundwork, we go out and do the inspections, we monitor the cells that are getting flooded, we take the samples, we look for the larvae, but when we find larvae this year, I was able to call Merced, and they would fly their plane and get rid of the larvae. So we were really working cross-county boundaries this year for the first time, and it worked out really well. So we're hoping to keep that going into the future. But up till this year, Turlock Mosquito Abatement District has been treating everything in China Island.
That's all I had. Thank you.
Hypothetically, what would be the cost in this geographical area?
Cost of?
Flying an airplane in regards to mosquitoes.
Well, the cost just for the plane is 56 cents per acre. That's not including the chemical. You know, the chemical cost per acre, I can't remember off the top of my head. I'd probably say the chemical cost would double that. So it'd probably be about $1.12 with the chemical. So, to treat a couple thousand acre, which is not much, we're talking, a couple $1,000s. One of the issues that we had is also that we fly, because of that, they try to do several areas at once. And so that we try to do that to keep the costs down. So if we were flying the plane down for every little job, they're up at McClellan Air Force Base, the company is that we use. So if we had to do that, the cost would be way higher. So we try to bulk them together as well.
What is the peak time? You were talking about the peak time. Is it?
We have traps that have cups on them, and every hour they rotate. And so we can set it out, put a timer on it at 8 o'clock, and it just starts. And so we can check at different times of the year what time of the night we're getting the most mosquitoes. For this time of the year, right now, it's going to be 9 o'clock to about 11:30, or is the peak time. It's dark, birds have gone back to their nests. Most of these, all of the mosquitoes that carry West Nile are bird feeding mosquitoes. They prefer birds. So this is the time when birds are back in their nest. The problem is when you have so many mosquitoes like we're getting right now, either the birds leave or there's just so many mosquitoes, the mosquitoes can sense it and they just start biting whoever's around, just the easiest target. And so that's when people get bit, outdoors, taking a walk. The other peak, the smaller peak activity is in the early morning hours, is dawn. So between like 4 to 6. So you kind of have a big peak, and then you kind of have another peak in the morning. The way that these applications work is these applications don't have any residual. They don't last. They come out of the airplane and they're gone within minutes. We're trying to get the mosquitoes as they're flying through the air, these microscopic droplets. And these microscopic droplets are just kind of hovering in the wind column, and the mosquitoes fly through it. A couple of the droplets hit them, and then they kill them. It's not anything that would be toxic to a mammal or to any other type of animal. And the dosage, the amount that we're applying, is not enough to do anything to a human or to an animal or to a dog or a cat or anything like that. We're talking about microscopic amounts of chemical. But to an insect, it's plenty. And they have the type of biochemistry that these chemicals work. We have a totally different, these chemicals wouldn't even work on this. So that's how it works. That's why we target our applications for that time of night. Usually I think the plane usually comes down between around 9:30, 10, and is usually done within probably, this size, probably done within 10 or 15 minutes.
Dave, a question on August 29th.
Yeah.
I did get some calls on that evening, and people complained. They had no idea what the plane was doing flying at that level. And do we know what time this actually occurred? Because you're saying that the best time would be 9, 10 p.m. or something like that. I'm under the impression it was earlier than that.
No, it shouldn't be. Now, I can always verify that with the company, but they flew all these because we wouldn't want it any earlier. If they did it any earlier, we'd want our money back.
Well, maybe you got your money coming back.
So maybe we do,
Yeah.
but it should be after 9 and before midnight. Because
Yeah.
later than that, we don't want them to do it, and earlier than that, we don't want them to do it. Because 9 and from those rotating traps, that's when the most mosquitoes are out. So they flew all this between 9 and midnight,
So,
all these within this block.
there's a gentleman in the audience, Mike Hurtado. Mike, do you know what time it was?
It was 9 o'clock,
Okay.
but I would think that maybe do the residential area last, not first, because it's right at 9 o'clock. and the plane flew right over the flour mill, and it was very low. And there's videotape also.
Well, and like I said, I can't speak for every, resident, but a lot of time, for a lot of these areas, where the plane was flying isn't necessarily where the application was being targeted. Even though you see it fly right over your house, it doesn't mean it's coming straight down on you. It's coming from 300 feet. The wind's pushing, it was a 10-mile-an-hour wind, so it pushed it quite a bit. You can see in this other grouping up here that was done the same night, they're way up here, and the chemicals drifting, down to the southeast. So that was the conditions that night. Like I said, it should have been between 9 and midnight. This is a new thing. There's no way we can notify everybody. We did the best we can. We still continue to do that. I'm open to working with the city and to increase that. I think it's one of those things, it's a new deal. People weren't quite sure what we're doing. Once they realize, hey, sun still rose the next day and things are okay, maybe some of that will die down a little bit. I certainly don't want to give the impression that we're not concerned or that, look, even people who don't like what we're doing, even people that may be completely anti to all chemicals, we respect that opinion. And so we try to do the best we can to notify you. And if you'd like to go indoors and shut your windows and do all that, feel free. We're trying to respect that. But we are limited in what we're actually able to do. We can't go door to door, and there's limitations. So we're always open. Michael had a great suggestion about using the city's website, so we're going to do that. And Michael and I have met on several occasions, so anytime we can get together and improve, or you guys have ideas or something like that, feel free to give us a call. Or our phone's always there. Door's always open.
Does anyone else have any questions?
I have a question.
Sure.
Who checks on the pilot to make sure that he's vaccinating the chemical correctly and he's actually flying at the level that he's supposed to and not making high-speed maneuvers over the town?
The pilots themselves are licensed to make these applications by the state of California. We're licensed, my employees are licensed. There's 4 different exams you have to take and pass. We have to go to continuing education classes every year to keep those licenses active. In terms of these pilots, these are not our employees. This is a contracted company, but they do these same exact applications nationwide. This is a very common occurrence. This company flies in Sacramento, it flies in Yolo County, Placer County, Butte, San Joaquin County, same pilot. If the individual was flying unsafe, we can certainly call them and ask them. They do, as you can see here, they do have transponders, so they know what altitude, what speed, when, you can see from the red and green when the equipment was on, when the equipment was off, where he turned, what flight path he took, where the chemical's going to land. All this stuff is measured because they're a company and they don't want liability as well. But if the person was flying unsafe and flying too low, one important thing I will mention is for this particular mission, they had to do a flyover one time. Now, when you believe he was flying too low, could you see that the spray was on?
Well, when he came by my house at first, the spray wasn't on. And then he was flying around Newman, because I went outside, I made a mistake. He was flying around Newman and he was really low. And the video that was taken, it was actually over on the newer subdivision. And it was really low. And when I came out, he came back around the town of Newman and towards the flour mill, and he had a sprayer on. That's
Okay.
when I got hit. And it burnt my eyes, and also it burnt a lot of other people's And that's when, you know, I felt like I should speak up for everybody. Because, you know, it is very important what you're doing, and we need it, but nobody should be going in their house, closing their eyes, watering.
Hey.
And my animals,
I don't
their eyes
disagree.
were all bloodshot, and they were watering the next day.
I don't disagree.
I think somebody needs to check to make sure the pilots are doing their job correctly.
I will say on this initial flight, the pilot was not familiar with this area. It was the first time they were flying this area. They may have done a pass-through at a lower elevation, looking for any type of towers or something that might, a water tower that might be off, you know, with no lights on or something like that. That may have happened, but if the spray was on, it should have been at a 300-foot elevation, and so that's especially important. Yeah.
Based upon his statements, what correct administrative measures can citizens take with the state of California based upon his statements?
Corrective in terms of,
This is administrative corrective measures we take on the city, county, and state.
I'm not too sure.
In other words, what kind of action how do we remedy the problem?
Like I said, we're trying to notify the public as much as we can. And if somebody is concerned, they can see our notifications, see when we're going to spray, and not be outdoors. That's all we can do. Yeah.
Okay, I think we've covered that subject pretty well, Dave. And first, I'd like to thank you, Dave, for coming tonight, and we recognize the importance of what you're doing. West Nile virus is something we don't want in our community.
Yeah.
And it's just, there was questions and concerns by the general public. And I think this really helps. I think it really helps because we have a better idea how hard or difficult it is for you to schedule, to get that schedule to us, because you know, sometimes it's just insufficient time to make that happen in the way we'd like to know it. But anyway, I thank you very much for
Thank
your
you.
presentation.
And just as a final response, you know, when we're out at the booth, we were at the Newman City Council, or the Newman Fall Festival, interacting with the public. We advertise our Twitter, we advertise our Facebook and our website. We try to let people know that these avenues are out there, and if I'm willing to explore any way that Newman, you know, I don't know if you have any mailers or newsletters or anything like that, we'd be happy to provide a little article or something to get more people notified of, you know, in the community about how to get notified if they're concerned or if they, you know, if they have issues. So please let us know. We'd be happy to work with you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And Mayor, I don't know if you noticed it during David's presentation, we already have a link up to the Turlock Mosquito Abatement District on our website already. It's under the latest news section there. So you can click on that link right there and it'll take you right to their website.
Perfect.
So that's something that's went in just within the last couple of days. So that's
Okay.
it's good. We're making good steps. All right. Thank you.
Thank you so much. With that, we'll take a 10-minute break. I'm just kidding. Okay. Okay. We're moving along really fast. Number 7, items from the public, non-agenda items.
3.
Please state your name and address, please, for the record.
Hello, my name is Teresa Smith. My address is 1313 Pointer Way, Newman, California. I'll make this as fast as I can. I'm coming as a resident of Newman, a resident of Stanislaus County. I did not make it to the first or second workshop for the South County Corridor Project, but I did make it to the third one on September 3rd. I've seen, by being there in person, how important it is for the residents of our city to get involved and participate in the interactive, so they can vote on what path they would prefer. I had told a couple people, because I left right after that workshop, and I just returned back to the city yesterday. I gave the website that we were told about to some people, telling them how important it is, get the information. If you have questions, call. Then I was told today, because I came back yesterday, that they got on and they didn't understand, they didn't see where they could vote. So I was wondering if I could, because I went on, give a short synopsis of how it might be easier for them to find what they need, and then the phone number and email address that they could call or write to for the questions they may have. Because I'm afraid that the citizens might see the newspaper, not totally understand how important it is to put their input, because this is something that's going to happen, not overnight. But I'd hate for them to, a few years down the road, say, hey, what's happening? Because we are going to have to pay for it, no matter where the route is. And if they get the information while they can, while it's the 11th hour, which I found out now, instead of having to the end of September, they would have until October 15th. And it's just really important. I know a lot of people do watch the video of the meeting and not come here in person. And may I do that, please?
Yes, how long is it, would you say?
It's real short.
Okay, please.
Okay, go to the website valleyvisionstanislaus.com. In the upper right, you'll see South County Corridor Feasibility Study. When you get on that page, on the second paragraph, you'll see click here to review the project overview. It's in blue. Then you'll scroll down, and it will show you how they did their steps and where we're at right now. You scroll down to the top 10 performing alignments. There it shows you the 10. There's 6 that are called Northern. That's actually, from what I've learned, I feel benefits Patterson. It would cost more money. I'll let people do their own thing. But from what I was told, if you do any of the 6 Northern ones, there'll have to be construction of on-ramps at I-5. 4 Southern ones, that would benefit Crow's Landing, Patterson, and Newman, not just Patterson. And it would cost, but less, because there'd only be modifications at I-5 instead of a full construction. No matter what we do, what happens, we as Newman residents will pay. And I really, really ask the citizens, get on this website. They said you have questions, contact Jaylene, Jaylen French. She's the Valley Vision Stanislaus Project Manager. Phone number is 209-525-4600. Her email is jcfrench@stancog.org. It's very important that the citizens get the information, get on the website. If you don't understand it, please call or email and get it. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Teresa.
Mayor, just real briefly before the next speaker comes up, Mr. French is no longer with StanCog, so there'll be another, we'll have them make that correction.
Okay. Okay. Ben?
Mayor Dennis Brazil, 1080 Steel Avenue, Gustine, California. I wanted to come to tonight, Mayor, Council, and staff, to congratulate you on being appointed to Mayor City of Newman, and to tell you that we are open to help you guys. We are a neighboring community just a few miles apart, and as you know, we already apply mutual aid for both towns. But anything that you need, the council or the staff, feel free to give myself or Sean a call. We'd gladly work with you guys for any projects you have coming up. I just wanted to mention, we had a 9/11 walk, and I thought that you had got the information on it. It was on 9/11. It happens every year on 9/11. Judy Quinn from the auxiliary VFW puts it on, so I'd like to pre-invite you for next year for the council and the citizens to come and maybe help us support that. We had a great turnout this year, a lot of people, but it'd be nice to have our neighbor community come and join us in that. So with that, that's all I have, and have a great evening. Congratulations and good luck. Thank you.
Thank you, Dennis. Dennis Brazil, the mayor of the great city of Gustine, thank you for coming. It means a lot to us, believe me. we're good neighbors, and
Absolutely.
we have a lot in common with the west side, and you're one of the, it's Gustine Newman Patterson, so that's what it is, but thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes, young lady.
Good evening. So I'm Natalie Karsten. I'm the branch manager at the Newman Library, and I just wanted to take a moment to let you know about some upcoming programs that we're going to be having. So Storytime is currently on break, and it will resume in October at 10 on Wednesday mornings. Our next children's craft is Tuesday, October 6th at 3:30. We will be making sticker books to hold all of your favorite stickers. Our next Lego Day will be Thursday, October 8th at 3:30, and for this you can build anything you like, and then your creations will be placed in our display case. Teens can stop by anytime this month to make a keychain or bracelet craft using colorful thread and ultraviolet beads. And next month we will be making mini jack-o'-lanterns using ping pong balls and tea lights. Our next adult program will be Tuesday, October 27th at 6. Attorney Julie Richardson from Legal Pathways will give a presentation about estate planning. And please stop in or call the library if you're interested in attending. Many thanks to the Friends of the Library group for their support. And all of these free programs are brought to you through the 1/8 cent dedicated sales tax that supports the library. Please stop in and visit sometime. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We have a wonderful library. Everyone should take advantage of it. Thank you for coming down and giving us your schedule, because that means a lot to us. Anyway, anyone else having? Okay.
Good evening. Excuse me. My name is Julio Valenzuela. I live at 1316 Greenhill Way in Newman, California. I presented my concerns to a couple of people on the council, as well as the governor's office. And when I began to listen to the governor's aide, Arturo, I began to realize we have a new mayor. We have a new leadership for the city of Newman. So when I listen to public employees tell me, go to the city council and complain, because the supervisor is going to be there. Technically, it's not the supervisor's problem. I begin to realize that a local government is a people's government. The people need to have a positive direction under their own local government in regards to positive leadership in behalf of the people and the citizens of this community. What I would like to do is to invite the mayor. I want to open a door. And I would love to see the segment of this population meet the mayor, the police officer, the chief of police, volunteer fire department, by the way. Come to St. Joaquin Catholic Church and meet our people. We have new leadership. For the first time since I've been here in 6 years, this is the first time I've been here. And I've been asked to come here. So I want to come in a positive way to invite the mayor to meet Father Martin Garcia, if you have the time.
To do what, I'm sorry?
If you have the time.
To do what?
To meet
To
the people.
Absolutely. I'll meet with anyone.
Thank you. And I'll make these arrangements.
I'd be more than happy, because the more people you talk to, the better understanding you have of what's going on.
Thank you. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Second of all, it happened on July 9th of last month. And I listened to the volunteer fire department who volunteers their services to this community. And one of the comments I've heard over and over, we are not recognized by the city council. No one comes to say, thank you. That hurt. And let me tell you why it hurt. Because I donated out of my own pocket a plaque to Newman Volunteer Fire Department since 1910. And it reads, I'm always having a long pair of glasses. Come on, Julio. And it reads, Newman Volunteer Fire Department, citation, reads on July 9, 2015, for outstanding proficiency and selfless devotion for their public service. These men have distinguished and exemplified themselves by saving a human life from this community. The Chief of Newman Volunteer Fire Department, Melvin Souza, Newman Volunteer Lieutenant Jim Lagruta, thank you for your goodness from an American citizen. And I handed them the plaque. And I was touched by their response. And they said to me, we thought the city manager was going to be here. The point I learned from that statement is open lines of communication among all citizens of this community. And this is where I'm at. Serving the little guy, listening to the little guy, hoping their voice comes to this table. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much. Appreciate you coming up and talking. Any other people would like to get up and say anything? Thanks again, Mike, for coming. Okay, moving on. Number 8, consent calendar. Waive all readings of ordinance and resolutions except by title. B, approval of warrants. C, approval of minutes of September 8, 2015 meeting.
I move to approve the consent calendar as read.
Second that motion.
A motion is made and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. 4 yes, 0 no. Number 9, public hearing. Adopt, I think this has already been taken care of, Michael?
Yes, this matter has been handled.
Okay, so we're going to move on to 10, regular business. A, adopt resolution number 2015, next number, a resolution awarding the city engineering service contract to Goovio Engineering, Inc.
Good evening, City Mayor and council members.
Thank you.
The existing city engineering service contract has been in place for 4 years. Therefore, it is time to bid the services to ensure the services are very competitive. City advertised for city engineering services, and total of 4 qualifying proposals were received and evaluated by Public Works and planning staff. The most qualified firm has been determined to be Goovio Engineering, Inc., and the proposed contract would be for 2 years with the option to extend the contract for 2 additional years. Therefore, staff recommend the City Council award the city engineering service contract to Goovio Engineering, Inc. I can answer to any question you may have.
Council have any question?
I have no question.
I have none.
Any questions? I'll bring it back for the council for direction.
I'll make a motion, we adopt resolution number 2015, next number. A resolution awarding the city engineering services contract to say that again, Jovea?
Goovio.
Goovio Engineering, Inc.
I second that.
Okay, motion's been made and second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried, 4 yes and 0 no. Thank you. Item B, adopt resolution number 2015, next number. A resolution approving a memorandum of understanding, MOU, with West Stanislaus Fire Protection District and authorizing the city manager to execute said agreement.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. As you know, our current fire department is led by Chief Melvin Souza, who's been running it for a number of years now. Chief Souza has indicated he's ready to retire and was hoping to retire in June, but we ran into a couple snags with respect to putting the MOU together. So, but over the last several months, we've worked with former Mayor Caton and Councilmember Graham, and just most recently Councilmember Candia and the West Stanislaus Fire Board District to craft an MOU. And the MOU is basically going to be a job share, cost share for an employee or a new chief. The new chief, the new position, which would be a Newman fire chief, but be a fire division chief under the West Side umbrella. So it would still be a West Stand chief, but he would be under them, consistent with what their number 2 in charges are. And right now it's interim Chief Brazier is actually a fire division chief in that division. With that being said, this would be a full-time position. They would be stationed here in Newman, and this would be their primary location, with the understanding that, you know, they're going to have to do some trainings and they're going to have to do some office time in Patterson and do, you know, meetings throughout the county as well. But Newman would be the official employer of record. West Stand would reimburse the city for 40% of the total cost. So that's including salary and benefits. The MOU talks a little bit about how supervision and personnel issues are going to be handled. It's a little bit delicate matter because the chief will report to me, but also have to report out to the West Stand fire chief. It's not unlike some of the situations that the sheriff's office has right now with some cities like Riverbank and Waterford and Patterson throughout the county. We'll jointly approve a work location, travel meetings, and conference, and then the position would be required to attend all of your meetings here on the second and fourth Tuesdays, and then whatever board meetings the chief wants them to attend for West Stanislaus Fire Protection District. And yes, we can squeeze another body in over there. It'll be tight, but it's an agreement that if you approve it, it'll be effective October 1st and run through June 30th of 2018. It automatically renews for 3 years, and that's either party is not satisfied with how it's going, and then they can file a notice of non-renewal, and that's all spelled out in there. I want to report that yesterday, West Stand Fire Protection, the board approved their agreement yesterday. So we're only now waiting for the city council approval. We've already budgeted the cost into the 15-16 budget year. We anticipate that cost is going to be $87,000 is what it would cost the city to fund that position. So with that, we're asking that you approve the MOU with West Stand Fire Protection to do this joint cost sharing agreement. There's also a parameter in there that just really talks about when the new chief comes on board, he'll work with myself and members of the board on the other side to do a joint equipment purchasing program. So we're both not buying $350,000, $400,000 fire trucks. We buy one, and then that rolls to the calls. You you don't have excess money being spent out there. You have one set of breathing apparatus that you go to, whether it's a county call or whether it's a city call. So that's another way that we think we're going to be able to provide more efficient, more effective service for the residents of not only the city of Newman but West End. And so whenever you can partner with another agency to do some of that stuff, I think it bodes well for both agencies. The other piece I think is going to be important, and people in law enforcement and fire service will really understand this, that you have one set of gear. You don't have one set of gear with a different standard, a different brand, if you're going to a district call versus a city call. So, all the stuff you're using is standardized. And so I think that's going to be very important for our firefighters as well, for their own protection, as well as the protection of our residents as well. So I can answer any questions that you may have at this time.
Mike, I think this is a great idea in a lot of ways. This building right here probably wouldn't be standing today if it wasn't for Patterson. And I know they had a piece of equipment that we didn't have, and they brought it down, and they gave us an opportunity to save this building. The equipment we had we couldn't have saved it.
Right.
So it shows when you share equipment like that you can get something very nice, and we can both use that equipment, because the likelihood of them having a fire and us having a fire that's going to require that equipment is just unlikely. But so I think it's a great idea.
You've seen a lot of the fire industry more go to, I'm going to use the word consolidation, but for joint use and stuff like that. And it's just a more effective way of doing it. Most of the time, the biggest barrier to being successful at that are egos. So if you can put the egos aside and really just focus on what's best for all, then you can get 90% of the way there. And then you're really just hammering out whose equipment are you going to use, because people have preferences even on the radios. Which radio do you use, which breathing apparatus do you use, and there's subtle differences, but it shouldn't be a barrier to saving the taxpayers money and giving them better cost-effective service. So.
Thank you, Mike. Anybody have any questions, Mike?
No, just on this agreement, by cost sharing some of the equipment, we'll be able to provide them with better equipment too, which is a big,
Correct.
important thing.
Correct.
You aren't going to be necessarily choosing the cheapest stuff because you're buying it twice.
Right. And the other thing that I think is important that Councilmember Graham is, we're going to get into a capital improvement program. So, the idea is we're buying them this year. We know in 10 years they're going to be done. So you start preparing for that, and stuff doesn't get outdated. And that's the last thing you want to do, is have some kind of incident or somebody gets hurt, for heaven forbid, and your equipment was outdated or wasn't, the maintenance wasn't performed, or it was performed but not documented. So, if we standardize this all throughout Western Stanislaus County, again, it only protects the agencies and the firefighters as well as the residents that much more.
Direction?
I move that we adopt resolution next number 2015, a resolution approving a memorandum of understanding with West Stanislaus Fire Protection District and authorizing the city manager to execute said agreement.
Second the motion.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried 4 yes and 0 no. Okay, item 11, item from District 5, Stanislaus County Supervisor Jim DeMartini. And sorry we're running a little bit long tonight, Jim.
Yeah, this had a long night for Newman. I know more about mosquitoes now than I ever thought I would. Anyway, good evening, Mayor Martina, members of the council. I just have a few things fast. Just want to remind the city of the Biggest Loser Way Out is going to be October 15th. I noticed it's printed on your back page too, and the time is correct. It begins at 11:30 and we'll stay there till about 12:30 or when the last team gets there. This time it's in Augustine. Last year the Way Out was in Newman, it was Patterson last year, so we move around. So anyway, hope your team is doing well there. I'm doing my best. I'm on the Patterson team, but not easy. No. So anyway, also of note, our art and essay contest is getting underway now in the schools. I made my last presentation last night in Patterson Unified. Our theme this year is Health is a Family Effort. All three of the school districts are participating, as well as the parochial schools. And we will judge those entries about mid-November and have the calendars printed up and have the awards to give out the first part of December. Anyway, next task force meeting is going to be October 29th at the Patterson Senior Center. Also want to thank Newman for providing the meeting place and a little bit of snacks for us there last week. It was very nice. As the task force is working on a grant policy now on how we're getting grants from health organizations and actually giving out small grants to smaller community groups too for health-related activities. And just one last thing, today the county passed our disaster preparedness policy. Includes every possible scenario, I think, with, floods, earthquakes, forest fires, terrorism, everything, and the way to handle that and get law enforcement services there, volunteers who, it's quite a undertaking. We've been working on it for years, so it's passed today. And with the El Nino coming, I don't know if we can go from drought to flood, but it is possible. So I would say I think we're about prepared for any kind of disaster that could come along. We'll see. I hope we don't have to test it, but I think we are ready. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Supervisor. Item 12, items from the city manager and staff.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Just a reminder that the cleanup is going to be coming up soon. I believe it's the week of August 12th? October 12th through the 16th. October 12th through the 17th will be cleanup week. So get everything ready. That'll come by quickly. I want to thank you for passing the MOU tonight. You already passed the job description and the salary stuff. So we're just putting together the final touches to the packet. We believe recruitment will begin no later probably than the end of this month, and we'll recruit through the end of October. So we'll be open for a full solid month. We're working with Chief Brazier and to help identify some trade magazines in the fire industry that he thinks would be a good place to advertise, as well as some of the local newspapers. And then we'll also do jobs available as well. So we think we're going to hopefully get a good recruitment out of that. Soccer is still going on. That'll go on through the month of October. So get on out there and buy yourself some hot dogs and nachos and support your rink, as well as watching some soccer. And just lastly, just want to reiterate that the link to the Turlock Mosquito Abatement District is up on our website and moving forward. And then pursuant to the request of Councilmember Davis, I have gotten involved, and we're going to be starting to see some trees getting trimmed in the downtown area, probably either end of this week or starting next week. We'll start getting some pruning going on. So it's going to be a lot of that, and that's going to be important too. So when we get the floods that are going out there. So with that, I can answer any questions that you may have.
Any questions?
Any further information on the new council member spot? Where are we sitting with that?
We recruited through, you remember what the final date was, the 6th?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're recruiting through the 6th and still taking applications. At this point, we have 2 applicants. So we are still on schedule to have you conduct a interview process at your meeting of October 13th to select a replacement for the vacant seat. And then once you get a full council, either you can do it that night or we can come back and bring it the next time around, just to identify our mayor pro tem to replace that spot. So
Thank you.
Any other question? Thank you, Michael. Officer Short?
I have nothing tonight.
Nothing tonight.
Nothing tonight.
Stephanie. Thanks again, Stephanie. You know, our supervisor, you know, he appreciated coming to Newman is a wonderful thing. You know, we have these West Side Healthcare Task Force meetings. We get, you know, we take turns, you know, Gustine has it, and Newman has it, and Patterson has it, but thank you, and thank you, Mike, you know, and, well, you know that it looks very professional when you see it, you know, so, and we're getting spoiled.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you so much.
Mayor, do we offer the best food? Good.
But we shared it with the police officers.
Yeah. Well, they can have the leftovers as long as they clean up, right?
Well, it was good leftovers. I don't know. Officer Short, you got
Oh, no, they came and repossessed them.
Director of Public
I
Works,
give
is
fair
there-
warning. I go
Yeah.
back in the morning and collect what's left.
So good evening again. So I have one item to update. Hexavalent chromium, also known as chromium 6. I'm going to provide very brief presentation regarding the new standard. So this is just brief background about the water well systems. So we have 4 wells. The well number 5 have 800 GPM, gallon per minute capacity. Well number 6, well number 1, well number 8. So overall we have 5,800 GPM capacity. So in the past, the peak demand was 3,500 GPM approximately. So that means in terms of the capacity, we don't have any problem at this point. So there's a new standard from the state, chromium 6 standard. Chromium 6 is naturally occurring in basin, is everywhere, basically. The water quality of the Newman, all the water system from the 4 water well remain exactly same. However, only the state standard has changed recently. Just for information, there is a nationwide standard. The US EPA standard on total chromium is 100 ppb. ppb means part per billions. Also, it's called as microgram per liter. The state total chromium level was 50 ppb prior to July 2014. So July 2014, MCL, the maximum contaminant level, was changed from 50 to 10 ppb. So based on the new standard, only 1 well, the well number 5, exceeded the new standard, MCL, because the average chromium 6 level for well number 5 is 17. This is the time frame associated with the chromium 6 new standard. So August 7, the state issued the compliance order associated with well number 5. And by September 4th, the city staff sent out, submitted the response letter to the state. By October 16, corrective action plan will be submitted to the state. In October, public notification associated with well number 5 will be made through utility bill newsletters as well as local newspapers. So by November 1st, 2015, the public notification, all the directives will be completed per the requirement. So this is the action plans will be included. Basically, the well number 5 always used as a backup, just in case summer times as a peak demand, and then we use well number 5. Sometimes well number 6, well number 8, which are major, need some maintenance, and then we use well number 5. Then one of the reasons we got the notification from the state is that we use well number 5 for summertime because well number 6 needs some maintenance works. So it's done recently. That means we can stop well number 5 anytime very soon. However, since we exceeded well number 5 last several months, still we gotta follow all the procedures, which include public notification. We are going to submit the quarterly lab result to the state per the requirement. So public notification template. This information will be included in October newsletter. This is exactly same the languages from the state. What should I do? You do not need to use an alternative water supply, such as bottled water. This is not an immediate risk. If it had been, you would have been notified immediately. So all these languages were provided by the state. I believe that these two languages mean a lot for our public. However, the city staff will be working with the state staff very closely to comply with all the new requirements in the future. I can answer to any question you may have.
Yes, on well 5,
Yes.
would it be possible to blend that down? You know, if it's 17 parts per billion,
Yeah,
would it be
yes.
possible to blend?
Actually, right now, the water is being blended through our looping system. However, we request the state, can state reflect this current situation as part of a blending system? But states say no, because the area near to well number 5 maybe is diluted with other well water. However, maybe the average still would be 12 or 13. But the other side of the city, yeah, absolutely. I mean, all the level would be maybe 8 or 7 because it's blended. The state said that no, we are not counting that situation because still some areas exceeded 10 ppb. So in the future, if we are facing some more challenges, we are looking for the Proposition 1 water grant money. So recently, state going to issue more than $7 billion. So we are looking for a really good opportunity for that. Maybe we can implement a treatment system or blending system in the city. So we have a really high chance to get those grant funds through the Proposition 1. So it is why at this point we just provide a short-term action plan. But however, we are still working on the long-term solution through the Proposition 1.
Why was there such a dramatic drop, you know, from 50 ppb to 10? That
10
seems
ppb.
pretty.
There are over 10 years, there's so many argument or discussion associated with that because chromium-6 normally kind of dangerous when we inhale, not through the tap water. There is no solid data associated with the tap water increase the cancer, but only the animal, testing on animal increase the cancer, the possibility of the cancer slightly. But however, there's so many other data, but at this point, it's very hard to say something.
Right.
But it is why even states say that there is no immediate risk to the
Right.
public. It's just the high standard applying to state of California.
As you can imagine, it's very difficult when the federal level is 100.
Yeah.
And they put us 10 on us 10, and then Bob, back to your question, why can't we just blend it? The state doesn't recognize common sense. So,
Big surprise there.
so when you have a bunch of wells all around you that are creating it lower, and you're only using this on a part-time basis,
I'm sorry, maybe I heard that wrong. Did you say the federal level's at 100?
yes, the federal level is at 100.
Level's at 10?
Yeah, we go back to the slide here. We'll show you. The federal level is 100 parts per billion.
Yeah.
The old state standard's 50 parts per billion.
Yeah.
There it is right there.
We're
And
down
then
to
they put us
1
at
to
10.
Yeah.
There's no science behind this. This is just people in Sacramento picking a number. And so it's the same reason I've been chasing an expansion permit at our wastewater treatment plant for 10 years. You know, they still want $500,000 worth of studies. They just don't make sense. I'm sorry. I just get very frustrated
Well,
because of some of the
absolutely.
things that's going on over there, and it's just.
One quick question you might know
Yes.
the answer to. Do you think the drought has caused some of this problem? And that it could, you know, the levels of water have changed?
Yeah, we checked the chromium-6 level since December 2014. But based on the data we collect in the past, there is no dramatic change. It still fluctuates per season because we are pumping more water during the summertime. In the case, the chromium-6 level going up a little bit, It always fluctuates, but there is no dramatic change because of the drought at this point.
Thank you. Any other question?
They don't want a problem for here in Rockland. Have you ever seen a movie?
Thank you.
Thank you.
That was chromium 6, too. Anyway, I think we've covered everything tonight.
Excuse me, sir.
I don't-
I have 30 seconds. I forgot something.
1 second. Please, go up and, your name and address, please. I forgot that tonight, and I got my hands slapped.
I'm so sorry. I tried to condense it and I passed over something that was very important.
Okay.
When you go to click here to review the project overview, after you see all the routes and you're done, go back to that page where you clicked on it, scroll down to the bottom. That's go back to the Welcome to our Interactive Workshop page. Scroll down to the bottom where then you could evaluate in what order you like. So that's all I wanted to make sure. That was the important part. Make sure you vote.
Well, thank you very
Sorry.
much.
Thank you.
We got it out to the public now. Okay, next item is items from city council members.
What Teresa's talking about is actually pretty important. They had a meeting here, what was that, about 6 months ago, 4 months ago? Where they were talking about it, and it seems like they want to push it further north than we would prefer. But it'd be important to get closer to us, so if people do get involved and push for it, we might have some better luck.
Yeah, and as Councilmember Graham was referring to, there's a big push from our neighbor to the north to get it going their direction because there's a lot of landowners that have a lot of money at stake.
Yeah, we know that.
Let's just put it this way, one computer, they didn't even try to hide it, one computer voted 70 times. They didn't even change computers, they just voted from the same computer, the same spot 70 times for the same route. So.
That's all I have.
Anything else, Casey? That's it. Roberta, anything tonight?
Yes, I would like to thank Michael Holland, City Manager, very much for getting involved in this dead tree issue, the dead limb issue.
You're welcome. We'll get it taken care of.
Okay.
Nothing tonight.
And I have nothing tonight, but I'd just like to thank everyone for coming out and being part of our council. Thank you so much, and with that, I'll ask for adjournment.
Make a motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.